And welcome to our live HBYOB BrewCast. Tonight we're going to be talking little zombie dust. We're going to sample a zombie dust, and then we're going to sample a homemade brew based on or inspired by zombie dust. So stay tuned. And welcome to the show tonight. We're live on YouTube. We're also live on Spreaker. If you go to Spreaker, type in HBYOB BrewCast, and both places have chat rooms. So if you have questions or comments, feel free to put them in the chat room. I'm your host, Easy Kill. I'm the host also of a Fantasy Fan Sportscast. And tonight we will be talking a little zombie dust with my first co-host, Chris Allen. Are you ready to go zombieing?
I guess. Is that a thing? Like, I mean, zombie?
I don't know if you go zombieing. What else?
Right.
If you're going to go out and kill a bunch of zombies one night, hey, if I called you up, if we're being attacked by zombies, do I just say, hey, let's go out and zombie?
I'm just going to go out and kill a bunch of zombies. That's pretty much all I'd say.
So we're gonna kill some 12-ounce zombies here in a few minutes.
There we go.
Well, Chris, glad to have you tonight.
Absolutely.
My other co-host and owner of HBYOB Brew Shop here in Dayton, Ohio, is Joey Brumley. He's the one that brewed this recipe. I know he's been working on a couple. And also, I have to thank him. He's also the one who got me my first zombie dust. I've yet to have it. So, Joey, how are you doing this evening? And thanks for the zombie.
No worries. I'm doing well tonight.
All right. Well, again, I appreciate you, throwing down the free 12-ounce. Actually, free 2 12 ounces. I got your homebrew to go with it. All three of us have the same 2 beers in front of us. And we'll get to that, here in just a second. But before we go on, Joey, the store, how's everything going? The brewing, the weather's broke here in Ohio. It's a little cooler. Is that, brewing up, down right now? How's the weather affecting the customers and the brewing that's being sold?
I think it's less than weather and more a lot of people on vacations and things like that right now. So it's a little slow, but believe it or not, crummy weather actually can be good and it can be bad sometimes. It's unpredictable.
So it's just hard to tell what's what. All right. All right. So the anything new in the store? Any equipment? Any new hops? I think last time you brought us a new hop. Anything this week at all?
I actually have quite a few new goodies coming in the next couple of days. I've got some stainless steel mash paddles, smaller ones for more of the electric brew systems. I've got Go Firm coming in and a couple of other new items that I've ordered for the store.
All right. And you can find, you can go to HBYOB.com. There's links up there to the live broadcast. There's also ways to get a hold of Joey, and you can order stuff off there. So again, go out to HBYOB.com and if you want to brew, a lot of equipment there, and Joey's very good at helping you also. So, and that's what we're going to be doing tonight. We're going to help. And I think one of our early shows that we did was kind of based around zombie dust. Might have been the first show we did, if I'm not mistaken. Might have been because we got zombie dust, and that was hard to believe now, maybe 4 months ago, that at least in our area, I don't know if zombie dust is a national type thing, but in our area, it's a pretty popular beer. Most places can't keep it on the shelves right at the moment. And I know you've been working on a few different recipes to kind of make your version. Is this one of your final ones, one of your first ones? Where is this in the line of trying to come up with something that's similar to zombie dust?
So, I mean, it's one of the more popular recipes at the store, and I've had quite a few takes at brewing this beer. The recipe I've tweaked from the original recipe that I seen the majority of the customers bringing in that they were getting off the internet. we'll get to kind of some of the tasting notes and everything in a little bit, but I would say I'm done. I'm not trying to duplicate, so I think I'm done tweaking. I actually like the beer the way it is, so I think I'm just going to leave the recipe as is, which is what brings me to if you're interested in brewing the recipe, there's a link in the description. You can purchase it from the website, or you can do a will call or from the store. There's also a promo code for 10% off the recipe kit.
Okay, when you say purchase it, you mean purchase the ingredients that are required to make this beer.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you can listen to the cast and see the beer we're drinking today. Like I said, I'm done tweaking the recipe. Like I said, we'll get to kind of what we think about the beer here in a moment. Okay. But if you want to drink what we're drinking today, it's now available in the store.
Well, let's start with an overview of Zombie Dust itself, because I know it's pretty popular. I've not been able to get a hold of it in my local area. So why don't you first give me, I don't know, maybe even Chris. I know Chris has had it too. Either one of you, whichever want to give him your opinion. I guess what brewery makes it? What makes this more unique right at the moment than maybe some of the other stuff they offer?
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, okay. Well, Zombie Dust, it's brewed by Three Floyds Brewery, and that's out of Indiana. And I think for the style itself, I mean, it's a pale ale, if I'm not mistaken. And for the style and also for the beer itself, from what I can remember, pretty intensely hopped, fairly hop forward, if I'm remembering correctly. It's been maybe a year, somewhere in there, since I've had one. But because the brewery itself doesn't distribute as much of their product as folks would like, it is definitely one of their more popular ones. When it comes to Three Floyds, I know a lot of folks, they can get their hands on the Alpha King, the Laser Snake, yeah, and then also there's another one, their porter. I can't remember the name offhand. But those three, I think, are fairly regular in most stores. But it's Zombie Dust that actually brings people by the carload. Not kidding, to the brewery in order to pick some stuff up. But it is definitely worth the wait if you can get your hands on some.
All right, is this a small, Joey? I'll now ask you: is this a small brewery in Indiana? Is this a medium size? I guess I don't even know how to compare it. I guess I have an idea here in Dayton what Warped Wing is. What are they compared to that, maybe?
I have not a clue. Do you know, Chris?
Okay.
No, I can't really compare. But from what I understand, because it has gained so much popularity, if you ever go to like Three Floyd's website, not that we're trying to promote somebody else's website, but I would say that just if you went to their website and you can just look at the artwork, hell, if you even look at some of the artwork that's on the bottle themselves, it has that grunge, death metal type of feel to it. And a lot of it's taken on a popularity of its own that folks will go there just for the merch that they sell, because a lot of the t-shirts, hoodies, and stuff that they sell have that general like feel to them, and a lot of folks like that. I think if you walk into the brewery itself, they're playing that type of music. So if you're into that type of atmosphere, a lot of the folks they're into that. And then also the event that they do every year was a Dark Lord Day. That has become a huge thing.
Lord Day.
Not kidding. Not even kidding. It's a huge event that they have there. They have bands playing. And then if I'm not mistaken, you can bring your own stuff there because they do the bartering system there, if I'm remembering correctly. I haven't been myself, but it's one of those events where once tickets become available for you to get in, they sell out almost instantly. And then after that, from what I've heard is, I mean, folks have a great time. Like
whereabouts in Indiana again? Do you have an idea? I mean, how far away? Do you have an idea for how far away from Dayton? I know a fantasy acquaintance that lives in Chicago, but graduated Xavier. And when he drives through the Dayton, when he's coming to Cincinnati he stops there and always picks up.
It's about, if I remember correctly, it's maybe like an hour and a half outside of Chicago on the way it's on the way to Dayton.
I know he stops there and picks up some of their beers. So now I don't recall that it's actual Zombie Dust that he's buying, but I know he says he stops there and picks up a couple of brews that he likes.
Right.
So, all right.
So it looks like it is Munster, Indiana.
Munster, thank you.
Away from here as possible. They do. Hold on.
While he's looking that up, Chris, how many times have you been able to get a hold of Zombie Dust?
About 4 or 5 times. A buddy of mine, that he had some contract work out in Chicago that he was going back and forth to the one of the labs out there. So he would bring us back some like fairly regularly whenever he would come back. So you've had
a handful of times.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now we know Joey's brewed. Have you tried to brew a Zombie Dust inspired recipe?
Yes, I've gotten my hands on a clone recipe, and I've done it a couple of times. I haven't been able to do it side by side, so this would be a first for me.
Okay, well, good. Joey, what did you get more information on the brewery?
It just says Munster, Indiana. It looks like they do 20,000 barrels a year.
All right. I just was curious. So from here, from Dayton, what, that 4-hour drive, maybe?
Probably, yeah, 3.5 hours or so.
All right. So you could almost do it in a day, because I know we had that discussion podcast back where we were discussing if it'd be considered local brew or not, based on if you could get there and back in a day. So we would consider this a local beer, kind of based on that loose description we used in the past of what an actual local beer would be. So I don't know, be fun. That actually sounds like a fun, a weekend trip where you maybe hit Chicago, come back through, get some beer, and back to work on Monday.
Heck yeah!
All right.
Let me know if you guys are ever available. I'll go. Road trip.
You're ready to go. Road trip. All right. Are we ready to drink? And are you guys trying either one particularly in any order? I've not had either, so I obviously have not had. So I'm assuming best for me is I'm going to drink. Now I have to admit the odor was very similar. So the aroma, okay, I'm sorry. The aroma, right now, if I was blindfolded, I would think these were both the same beer. So I'm going to give you, and I can smell I'm getting better. I can't pronounce it. Citra, Cella hop. What hop is in this?
So that's one of the cool things about this beer is it used to be, I don't even know where it's at beer ranking wise, but it used to be like number 1 it was in the top 5 for sure for I think a couple of years in a row. Mm-hmm. For as complex of a beer it's only hopped with 1 hop. So it's all Citra hops. So very citrusy. They live up to their name. And what's even funnier is for a beer I like so much, I tell people all the time that I don't even like Citra hops, but yet I like this beer. It's balanced really well with the malts.
Color wise, yours is just a hair, and I'm going to say a hair darker, but I'm guessing if I poured from a couple different batches, the color would be different. So
I would say
similar.
Based on mine, which do you think's the Zombie Dust?
I would say the one in the HBYOB seems a little darker, but the way your lighting is.
Yep. See, I would say lighting wise, mine's actually clearer in color.
Yeah.
So then Zombie Dust is a little bit hazier than mine. Color wise, I'd say I honestly can't really tell a difference.
The head now is settled is almost identical in size on mine. The carbonation there, I have some bubbles in yours. The carbonation in what I did from them is still quite a few bubbles.
Well,
but I do realize carbonation's hard to get exact.
I also bottled from a keg that beer for you, so it lost some of its carbonation, and I don't like heavily carbonated beers. 1, they pour out foamy as hell out of my keg, and 2, I don't like the beer burps, so I don't carbonate my beer super carbonated. Ask Chris, I got dinged for it in the competition.
Yeah, same.
All right, that was my first couple sips of Zombie Dust. You know me, this isn't my high end beer as far as what I drink, but again, what did you say hop was? Citra?
Yeah.
Citra, because what's the beer I had just a couple podcasts ago? Citra something that you had.
What'd you try? Citra ass down?
No, it was in the yellowish can.
Oh, that one. The
Citra something, because Joey said it was one of his favorites.
Yeah.
Citracella or
the one from Matry?
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would say I like this a hair better than that, and I think it's because it's a hair less hoppy.
I was going to say that's the one thing about like I said, I want to hear your guys' opinion first before I comment on what I think of the beers, just because.
All right, now I'm going to try and I don't even know what I mean. Inspired is probably the right term. It's just a recipe where you were trying to make a similar beer.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not trying to duplicate. And that's actually, like I said, a couple bullet points. Once we get a moment after you guys, whatever, I kind of want to go over a few things. Even, I guess, before I even say that, I've had 3 different batches of Zombie Dust now, and I've even the ones that you guys have tasted dramatically different from the other 2 that I've had.
What was the main difference in the 3 batches?
The biggest difference from the ones was I believe the one that you guys have was not nearly as aromatic as the other ones were. Like, it lost a lot of the aroma, and it had more of an alcohol bite. It wasn't as malty and had more of, I think because it wasn't as malty, it had more of an alcohol bite. And like I said, it was, and like because I'm drinking it too, it was a lot hazier too. Like, we got the first drags of their bright tank or something. I don't know if it was just the difference in batches or just where they filled the bottles. But like I said, I'm not saying it's a bad beer. It's like back to, for me to duplicate something even on my palate has changed from just the 3 times that I've had it is impossible. And like I said, I was inspired to actually brew something very similar to Zombie Dust because I can't find it. So that's one of the, if I could get this at the grocery store, which I was actually just doing the math based our recipes, $49.99. I paid, so that would be roughly $1 a beer. If you brewed it yourself, I paid $2.70 a beer at my local store. So,
oh man, so you're almost saving $2.
It's almost a third. It's almost a third cheaper. Like I said, forget about the money. It's just more. Like I said, I can't even go to my local. We were going to do this show, and 3 days ago it was at my local grocery store. I bought 2 6-packs and haven't seen it back since. I've been there every day.
Oh, right.
But it's like I said, it's not something I can readily get. I've had one from the one show, and then some guy that I know, he hooked me up with a 6-pack, and I found 2 at the grocery store. So,
now, whose opinion do you want first, mine or Chris's?
Well, you were commenting first, so you go ahead and tell me what you think, Mark.
First of all, I'll just say the overall rating, or just I like yours better. It does not have. It's probably a hair less citria or a little less bite. Well, how do I want to say this? The initial, and again, I'm no reviewer, guys. So I don't even know what the initial hit to the palate on yours is smoother.
Yep.
But the end is harder. Does that make sense? Meaning I have a little more. I don't like to use the word aftertaste because it's not a weird taste, but on yours, I don't get much at the beginning. It's a little smoother. It's afterwards that I seem to get a little more of the IPA or the hop. I can drink that. That would be no problem. I could drink that. I enjoy. It's not that I don't like this one. This one.
Now you're talking about the Zombie Dust,
right? The Zombie Dust hits me immediately with the hops.
Yeah,
immediately. Now I don't know what does that. Is that, I mean, are they using more finishing hop maybe or something? What would give you that harder hit?
Based on kind of, I agree and disagree with some of the things you said, and like I said, it sounds to me what you're getting more bitterness from the beer from the real Zombie Dust than mine, which means it's more of a 60-minute edition heavy than a late edition heavy. So yours, like I said, what's weird is Zombie Dust is supposed to be 60 IBUs, and the calculator that I use for my recipe is actually 65 IBUs. So mine's technically supposed to be more bitter than Zombie Dust, but I agree with you, Mark. I don't think mine's as bitter as Zombie Dust.
I would agree. What about alcohol content? Are they similar as far as you know?
I mean, they're to the % the same. That was one of the things. That was one of the things that I did. And that's why, like I said, I would like to, actually, before I say anything, go ahead. So are you done, Mark? Or are we ready for Chris?
No, again, other than,
like I said, I don't want to say too much until Chris.
No, but what I can tell you is, if these were they taste very similar. Okay, these are like my 2 sons. They're very similar, but yes, I can love one more, and I love yours more. Yours, they're yours is better for me, but you guys know my palate. I'm not, I'm a Bud guy. I'm a Heineken guy. So, and I think that's why yours is, I like better. I'm not getting hit hard with that bitterness.
So
go ahead, Chris.
So let's see. So first off, this is the Zombie Dust. It still tastes like what I remember. Very much in terms of aroma, hop forward, citrusy, and then the same thing with the overall mouthfeel, sharp, like fairly bitter, like right when it hits your tongue, and then the same thing like as it's going down, with not much in terms of like aftertaste or anything like that. Still pretty smooth though, and like you were saying earlier, Joey, fairly well balanced. So I think that, still a good beer from what I remember. Yours is different. So similar color and everything, so I think you were dead on. But when I smell it, yours almost has like a not a biscuity, but more of a malty, buttery, sweeter aroma to it. That one doesn't have. It's not as hop forward as the Zombie Dust, at least in terms of aroma. But then when I drink it, I can immediately taste it, but it doesn't have the same bite that the Zombie Dust has. Like you can definitely taste the hops and whatnot, but just doesn't have the same kick as the actual Zombie Dust does. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But those are the only key differences that I taste, not see, but I taste between the two.
So, like, to comment on the hop, the one from the keg that we're drinking is actually, I don't want to say fairly old, but I will say that it was a whole lot more aromatic when it was fresh. Now that it's been in a keg for a while, it has definitely lost its citrusy, dry hop zing. Now, the Zombie Dust, the real Zombie Dust, has probably been in the bottle just as long as mine's been in the keg, if not longer. So, like I said, I'm not sure if it's fair either direction. That was one of the things when I tweaked the recipe. The recipe was much, much, much darker in color than the original Zombie Dust. So that was one of the first tweaks that I pretty much learned early on, was to tweak. Another thing that I did differently in mine than a lot of the initial recipes is I did a hop bursting or whirlpool edition differently than what a lot of the other recipes did, which is why I feel mine's a little bit more hop. It's more flavorful with hops and less in your face bitter with hops. It's smoother and more rounder. I would say color wise, I think I pretty much nailed it. Yep. Aroma wise, honestly, I think I nailed it in the sense of when it was fresh, the aroma. I actually thought mine was more hop forward in aroma than Zombie Dust when it was fresh.
Okay.
But the thing I like about mine, I guess that would be the other thing. Which would you say you prefer, Chris?
I would prefer yours, just from it doesn't have that initial kick to it, that initial bitterness. But then with the entire profile, you'll get the full effect. You'll smell it. You'll smell the hops coming in. You'll taste it going down. But then you don't have the shock to your tongue that you get from the actual Zombie Dust.
So Zombie Dust claims to be an APA, and I think mine's actually closer to an APA, and I believe Zombie Dust is actually closer to an IPA. I've said that for a while.
I would agree with that, yeah.
So, like I said, being that Zombie Dust was an APA, I tried to model my recipe closer to an APA and less of an IPA. Even though Zombie Dust is classified as a pale ale, as an American pale ale, I think it drinks more like an IPA. So I kind of use the philosophy of nowadays all the IPAs are late editions, are real flavorful. So I tried to. Zombie Dust is more of a more traditional. I tried to make mine less of that pungent, bitterness.
I get more of a pale ale from yours.
Yeah, I tried to actually model mine closer to what the style was.
Right. If you said IPA, I would. If you said one's an IPA and one's a pale ale or an ale, I think I'd have got them. I'd have known which is which.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I like yours better, because I'm more of a, I'm not an IPA guy, but I'm working on it, guys. I drink more of it now than I ever did, thanks to this show. But, it's still not my go-to. But yeah, I enjoy it. I think yours is very good. Obviously, it's a stronger ale, or,
I think I taste the ABV more in the Zombie Dust than I do in mine. I think mine actually masks the alcohol content a little bit more. Like I said, I'm not saying mine's better. They're definitely not, bar for bar, duplicates of each other. They're different beers. Like I said, if you've never had Zombie Dust, I still think this is an example that's pretty damn close. If you don't have access to the real Zombie Dust. And like I said, based on I've brewed this recipe, I think 4 times now, and I've had Zombie Dust 3 times now, and I think this is the closest I've gotten so far. And like I said, I mean, I'm not going to chase trying to duplicate it, exactly. It's just not what I believe in, but I feel I'm pretty close without being spot on. And like I said, in ways I like mine better. Zombie Dust, like I said, the only knocks I would give it is a little bitter, and I can taste the ABV in it.
Mm-hmm. But again, that's all going to be preference.
Now, that was the thing I didn't also the thing I didn't like. That was what I didn't like about the Alpha King, was I thought Alpha King was very malty and very kind of medicinal. I don't like that in beer. That's why a lot of times, even when I brew IPAs, I brew lower ABV IPAs because I don't like that alcohol bite in beers. I like them to be more rounded and smooth, and I definitely get that alcohol bite in the Zombie Dust that I honestly don't get in mine. That it just lingers around your palate, versus mine's more malty, and like I said, I don't taste the ABV in mine.
I mean, other than now just picking up the bottle, I guess the fact that if I'd have bought that before we did this show or anything like that, just, what I've heard about Zombie Dust and then reading the word pale ale on there, I'd have bought it without any questions asked. Obviously, when it says if it had been Zombie Dust IPA, I'd have still bought it and tried it because so many people are drinking it right now, but I definitely would have been more hesitant. Yeah. You know me, when I see the word IPA, I'm a little hesitant on, okay, I know what this is going to taste like already, and believe it or not, though, the Zombie Dust to me still has more of an IPA taste than a pale ale, where the opposite is true. If yours said pale ale, I'm there. I mean, that to me, that's what it is. I've had some strong, pale ales and I would prefer it by far.
And I always try to brew, because I make the joke to customers a lot. I always try to brew beers that I could drink a 6-pack of, that I could take to a poker game or to a buddy's house, or after I get done cutting the grass. My beers, I'm not a huge fan of like real big stouts or imperial IPAs or anything like that, just because I like more sessionable beers. And I think that's probably because of my palate is why I lean towards mine a little bit more. But now if he was to say, hey, you're just going to have one beer tonight to enjoy, I think I would probably go with the Zombie Dust over mine, because mine's more of a pound it type of beer versus Zombie Dust is more of a sip and enjoy type of beer.
Right.
That's what, like, so it just depends on what mood I'm in.
If I had 5 gallons of both in my refrigerator, like I've said, I never thrown any beer away, but the 5 gallons of yours would be gone quicker than the Zombie Dust.
I agree.
Just because, and maybe that's what you were just saying, meaning and I know you guys make fun of my lawnmower beer, but if I was mowing lawn, I came back, I would drink a couple of yours before I would drink even one Zombie Dust, maybe, just because the Zombie Dust, the flavor profile just becomes so, the word overbearing is not right, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, meaning, you're drinking it because of the flavor. So you need to slow down and enjoy it, where, hey, when you're done mowing grass, you just want to throw down a couple, beers. So
I would say if those out there want to purchase the recipe and they want to brew something closer to Zombie Dust, if there's any recommendations I would do, if you wanted to get this even closer, would be maybe use a little bit, some of the later edition hops in the recipe, maybe bumping them up a little bit more in the 60-minute. And I hot bursted mine, or whirlpool edition mine, at 100 and I believe 55 degrees. Do your whirlpool editions at 170. It'll help beef up that perceived bitterness a little bit more. That's if you really want to nail. I would say malt profile wise, very similar beers. Other than, like I said,
I'd agree.
I would say malt wise, we're pretty similar. And as far as the dry hopping goes, I have to be honest. This beer I pumped out pretty quick. I I listened to the brew philosopher a lot. I only dry hopped it for like 4 days and crashed it and put it into a keg. So it didn't really sit on hops for 2 weeks like the other recipe calls for. If you did that, you would probably pick up some more. The last time I had Zombie Dust, I thought it started getting into the lawnmower grass clippings type of aroma. So I was trying to avoid that. That was why this recipe, I didn't dry hop for very long. And maybe that's why that aroma didn't really stick around for or nearly as long as I hoped, was because I really didn't dry hop it for that long. So it didn't pick up potentially as much of an aroma. But like I said, pretty close. Like I said, if you want to pick up the recipe, there's a link in the description along with a promo code for 10% off, and you can drink what we're drinking tonight.
Yeah. Again, I personally just think if you were trying to nail a pale ale that had Zombie Dust characteristics, you hit it. I mean, because again, I see the similarities, but I just prefer yours, and I would put yours more in the pale ale category than I would put it, than I would the Zombie Dust. So, now knowing that, the odds are I'm not going to go out and buy too many Zombie Dust, or I'm not that worried that my local brew place doesn't have that. What do they carry? How do I want to say this? More of an American ale? Is one of their other beers more similar to a true pale ale than what this Zombie Dust is?
I think Alpha King, which is probably one of their more popular beers, is an IPA. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then Gumball Head, which is another really because I actually had 2 packs of Zombie Dust, and the guy next to me had a Gumball Head, and I'm looking at him like, dude, there's like 2 more packs, 6 packs of Zombie Dust back there. What do you do with Gumball Head? You
right. Yeah.
I believe it's a wheat beer. So a lot easier on the palate. I think Gumball Head's a wheat beer.
Yeah, and that's one of the more popular ones too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, like I said, Chris, you would love Three Floyds because their artwork is pretty amazing.
Oh, I still have one of their boxes. I've kept all of their stuff. Any of their stuff I keep. I love it.
It reminds me of like a Rob Zombie Rob Zombie. What was the band he was part of?
Not Whitesnake. I can't remember.
What is it?
I don't remember.
No, it's zombies in the name. White Zombie.
Yeah, White Zombie.
Oh, okay. I was about to say it's not Whitesnake, but I was like,
it's White Zombie.
The old school old school comic books. If you're a label art junkie, then Three Floyds is definitely the brewery for you. I think Gumball Head looks pretty cool.
Oh, I love it.
All right. Well, again, I enjoyed this. Was fun.
And the beer lives up to the hype. I honestly, out of all the beers I've had KBS, I've had Zombie Dust. Thank you, Chris. I've yet to have, or I haven't had Pliny the Elder yet, but I'm going to have that soon. So I've had all the very hyped beers, and Zombie Dust for me has a special place in my heart because it lives up to the hype. It's a good beer. It's a very solid beer. I guess that would be the next question. Chris, if this was readily available, would you pick it up the majority of the time, or would you continue to fish around? What would be your style of buying with it?
I would probably continue to fish around for other beers because, like you said earlier, and I'm 100% with you, I think my palate has changed. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to getting like beers that have that bitter bite to them, it's just not something that I'm just gonna. If I'm going through the aisle at Kroger's or wherever I'm at, it wouldn't be the first thing that I'd pick out. I would find like a session ale, a wheat beer, something along those lines that I would just find more enjoyable to drink 6 of in an evening. But if I did happen to see it, if it was maybe, I don't know, 2 months down the line, and I saw saw a 6-pack of that, sure, I'd grab it, but it wouldn't be something I'd try and pick up every week.
So if it's something, like you said, because that was the thing, when the first time I had it, I was like, if this was available locally, it would be the only store-bought beer that would be in my refrigerator. Now that I've had it 3 different times and I've got like 12-pack plus in my basement, it's one of those things where it's just like,
right, which we've talked about that. Right, we've talked about it on another podcast. I mean, craft beer drinkers very rarely settle. We're always looking for something better, or different. It's never, well, I really like that, but I'm going to buy this. I mean, it just doesn't happen that often. I mean, there's only been a handful that I've bought more than once, So,
well, like it was like the KBS. Don't get me wrong, that was a good beer. That's a beer for me. Like next year I'll probably buy a 4-pack if it's available. I won't drive any far distance to get it.
Right.
Had it. I can say I had it. Am I saying it's a crappy beer? Of course not. But it's not a beer that I'm gonna.
You're not gonna chase it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I will admit, when Yingling was first available, that to me was like
I was
the
just
holy
gonna
grail.
say that. Yeah, we were buying that left and right. I was buying cases of that.
But I mean,
it's amazing when you can't have something, how it seems to be better than once you can have it.
Grass is always greener, brother.
Now I will admit, when Yingling became available here in Ohio, if you take me to a restaurant and all they basically have is domestic beers, I will always choose a Yingling over almost everything else.
Yeah,
when it comes to just your average beers.
Well, it's a little more flavorful. I mean,
Yingling and PBR are my two.
If I don't like anything else on the menu, it's those two. Because if it's just like we've got a Sam Adams seasonal and Heineken and
hey, make fun of my Heine. Don't make fun of my Heine.
Oh, I drank that stuff. Like my dad and all of his brothers drink it all the time. So that's all I drank. Like once I turned 21.
It's good enough for James Bond. It's good enough for Easy Kill.
Now I will say one thing. Like I said, that needs to be moving forward. We need to have an episode. Like I said, I'm still convinced that I can tell you the difference between bottle, canned, and draft Yingling. That I've drank so much Yingling that I can tell you the difference between the three
for like 6 years.
Whatever.
Because I only drink Yingling from a can, and it drives me crazy when people say that type of stuff, and I'm admitting that I'm a hypocrite, and that's the one thing where I'm exactly that guy that
right.
I'm like, really, dude? Like, no, you can't, and I swear I can, and I probably can't, but I swear I can.
Well, then let's just keep it that way.
There you go.
It's like the people who are Pepsi and Coke drinkers. I can't tell the difference between.
Well, again, HBYOB. Promo code BrewCast. Is that good online and in the store? If someone just comes in yelling BrewCast, they'll get 10% off this recipe.
So just mention that you saw the cast and that you want to make the recipe, and we will honor the 10% discount. And
anybody making it, one, you save 10%, and two, we want your opinions. Maybe you change a little bit or do whatever. Or if you really are a zombie, hey, if you really like it, then like you said, there's a little, some changes you might make to make it dead on. So
like I said, I've brewed the customers that came in the store. It was a recipe where I would see all the time, and to the point where even when I first opened up, I had the recipe basically memorized, and I still do. Because the variants I was seeing everybody bringing, all the different customers bringing in, were virtually the same. Mm-hmm. Some of the recipes, that's the reason why. I mean, $49.99 for an all grain recipe is a lot of money. I will admit that, but I don't skimp on the ingredients on it. And some of the other recipes, you could tell where they were getting them from some of those websites where they were trying to advertise the price tag, and you could tell they were definitely skimping on ingredients.
Right. They were trying to
get us for $35.
Exactly. And so, like with this recipe, it's one of those I didn't skip on ingredients. The recipes that were coming in, I took it and I brewed it a few times and very close to it. And like I said, it was much darker in color. It had much more of kind of almost a biscuity bite to it. And I really backed off on the Levabond on it. I changed
biscuity bite. Biscuity bite.
It did. I mean, for lack of better terms.
It'll be the name of my next album.
Munich is in this recipe. And I think if you don't use Munich wisely, it gets a very weird bite to it. Mm-hmm. So I backed off on the Munich with this recipe and made up for it with a different base grain. So there's some tweaks that I did to this recipe. Like I said, only a handful over 4 different brews, but I feel like I got pretty darn close. And color wise and everything, like I said, I take the Pepsi Coke challenge against the online recipes that are out there. I think mine, I don't want to say it's the closest, but I definitely think it's a good contender, because the original recipes that I brewed that customers brought in, I said, hey, you mind if I brew this? I didn't think they were even close. They were either overly bitter or overly malty.
How many ounces of hops did you use? Like 8?
10.
Yeah.
So the recipe has 10 ounces of hops total. 4 of them just in dry hops. So.
Mm-hmm. All right. And we're going to try to do more of these where we, are all maybe drinking the same beer or sampling a homebrew.
Well, we've got a competition coming up, so we'll have to swap some beers around and let everybody see what we got going on.
Right. And like I said, we're going to be making some changes. We were off for about a month doing this one. We comboed it with our other podcasts and just kind of BS'd about all kinds of stuff. So we'll be back on the brewing. May not come every week. We might skip and go every other week and try to make the content a little better, for you home brewers, to maybe help you a little bit, just to have some ideas. Other than that, the three of us just like to get together and talk crap. To be honest, is what it becomes more than anything else. We really don't even like each other at all. Anyone would listen to us talk off air would think they really don't like each other. But hey, that's the fun of it. We have a good time.
So before we get off, since Chris, shall we share the gas story?
Yeah.
Okay. I heard rumors of a brew going bad. I want to know what happened. Who do I ask to tell the story?
Go ahead and tell it, Joe.
Do I want the true story and then someone else's opinion of what really happened, or?
So me and Chris hung out this weekend with some other friends, and we decided we ate dinner at the pub and we were going to go to some place, and Chris didn't know where we were going. So he's like, hey, just ride with me. We'll go from place to place. So we're going down the road. One place was a bus. The other place was a bus. And we're going, all of a sudden I seen Chris's foot pumping on the gas. I'm like,
he's already out.
Did you run out of gas? He goes, yeah, my gas gauge broke on my car.
Sure did.
And he's like, oh man. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure, see that sign right there is a gas station. And I'm like, we can coast. He's like, dude, I'm running this red light. We got this. I'm like, no, I'll push you.
I was gonna
don't run the red light, because we were at the pub. We had a beer. That was really all we had was a beer. I was like, no, don't run the red light. I'll push you. Don't worry about it. And I'll tell you what, I felt.
So you literally had to stop. You had one light that didn't need to turn, but it turned. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bitch.
Well, luckily, we didn't have to go get a gas can and walk it back or nothing like that. I'm telling you, I got more exercise in that 5-minute span I think I've got all year. We get to the place where we're going to have a beer or two, and I couldn't even barely drink because I thought I was going to throw up. I was so gassed from pushing a car 15 feet.
Mark, he looked like he was about to pass out pushing that car.
I'm guessing he was pushing a Lincoln Continental, right?
Yeah.
No. Well, what is that?
Malibu.
Malibu. All right. Yeah. Malibu Ken. All right. So we were pushing a Malibu downhill. Tell me there was a little downhill.
We went uphill in the snow.
Oh my God. It was a flat path across the intersection, but then
usually the worst spot is that 2-inch bump getting into the gas station.
Well, that was the problem. Is
we just stopped.
We get going up. There was actually, Chris, give me at least this. There was a pretty good little hill to go into the gas station. And I was like, bro, you got to get out and help me push.
Wait, so you're both out of the car now?
Yeah.
And we had no video. And this is all because what do you do? Do it based on mileage? How do you know in a car with no gas gauge when you need gas?
Apparently when it runs out.
Yeah, I got you.
I knew I was close. I knew I was riding the edge, and I knew when I left the house that if I was just going to the green and back, I'd be fine. But then when we went from there to Sure Shots to rolling around Kettering.
So was your objective even to get to the gas station you were headed to? Did you not even think that? I mean,
no, I hadn't even thought that far.
So if you'd have drove past that gas station, that was an option. I mean, was what you were going to do.
We were rolling the dice, baby. I was letting Jesus take the wheel. And if we would have made it, we would have made it. And if we didn't, well, I told Joey, because he got out to push. I was like, dude, I was about to throw on my emergency lights, and I would just walked. Yeah. I would walk to the gas station, bought a gas can, and been like, well, hey, this is what we got to do now. But hey,
I have never run out of gas. I have been with, unfortunately, the same person twice where I've been in vehicles that have run out of gas, and it's someone is related to them. It's on this podcast.
Mhm.
Who does not believe in gas stations. I swear to God. You know, I'm one of those that I'm a quarter of a tank I'm filling up. I'm not one of those that waits to the end. And the other person we're talking about, he believes in wait until it's way past that last E part.
So I've never run out of gas because I've been with the person who has run out of gas before, and that's why it won't be me. Now, I've had many people whose gas gauges didn't work on their car. Now, here's where I'm going.
Reset the mile. Like I had a truck for a while, didn't have it, but I just would reset the mileage. You know, I knew I could go 350 miles. So
this happened today, and I'm not proud of it, but I'll tell the quick story. My car has got issues, and I'm one of those type of people. I've diagnosed it. I know what it is. I'm just too lazy to even really do anything about it because it still gets me from point A to B.
I vote that is the truth.
So today we get through. I'm going through a light, and my car just dies on me. I shouldn't say out of nowhere because it's been doing it for 2 or 3 months.
Before or after I saw you today?
After.
Okay.
So some guy rides right up my bumper and just lays on the horn. My hazards are already on. I've already basically been, waving people around. He gets right up my tail end, lays on his horn. Allegedly, I stuck my hand out the window and flipped him the bird more than once.
That sounds about right.
Right or in the wrong?
I would say
my hazards are on. I've clearly indicated to traffic.
Okay.
My car is
right. If you're in the right or wrong now is no longer the issue. The problem with that nowadays is getting shot or not getting shot.
Pretty much.
You know what? In public nowadays, I'll let an asshole be an asshole and let them go. In private, I'll tell an asshole they're an asshole. But
I put my hazards shot. I put my hazards on, like it's fine. But whatever. And then when I go on, it's like one of those things where it's like I shouldn't have done, or allegedly I did it, but I shouldn't have done that. But I did it because this guy was just being a jerk. Like I put my hazards on. Like, I'm sorry. The guy behind me, he drove a Mercedes Benz. I'm sorry. I don't have a Mercedes Benz, a brand new Mercedes Benz. I drive an old clunker car.
If it was some guy driving a Malibu, you wouldn't have flipped him off.
Well, I might have been. He would have helped me push the car to the
exactly. I'd have been like, dude, I know you. I've been there before.
More likely, the Malibu guy was on his way to buy some zombie dust.
It could have been. So, entirely possible.
My excuse is just laziness. That's why I'm saying it. It's technically my fault.
We were going to cut it short. Try to keep our shows under an hour. Let's go real quickly to the question of the week, which is: I want to try adding fruit to my beer. Any suggestions before I do so? Either one of you, Chris, have you ever used fruit? I think you have, because
a number of times.
And I think you've said that in the past. So, just a suggestion for someone who's never done fruit. What would you either recommend to begin, or what would you tell them to stay away from?
So I've done a couple of things with fruit beers because I've been experimenting with those over the last 6 months or so. One thing that I would caution them is that the easiest way to do it, I think, but it won't retain as much of the, I guess, the fruit flavor, is you toss it in the boil. You'll get plenty of the sugars out. You might get some flavor. But you put it in the boil towards the end, just like your flavoring hop additions in the last, let's say, 5-10 minutes, or even at flame out if you want to. And that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is that you wait until everything's all fermented, and then you re-rack your beer on top of that. So you do a secondary fermentation with that, and that is entirely an option for you. But the one thing that I would caution is that, or not necessarily caution, but it's a thing to note, is that what you're doing by adding the fruit into your beer after everything's all fermented out is that you are introducing more sugars into your beer. So it might start, or most likely will start, the fermentation process again. So don't be surprised if you let it sit in your secondary for a little while and you see activity start to happening in your airlock. So that's just one thing to. Then
I need to ask Joey. Let me go back then to Joey, because that brings up a different question than our question. Why would someone add fruit to a beer? And I'm guessing there's a couple reasons. One, like he said, just to maybe maintain or to get the sugar out of it. and to get a different profile of sugar. And then obviously the other would be to actually get the fruit flavor. So are those the two reasons you would do it? Is there a third or a different reason, or am I
Color's
wrong?
a big one. A lot of people add fruit because, like strawberries and stuff, and it gives it a nice,
color, even though it's not going to taste like strawberries.
Yeah, I mean, it will a little bit. You when you use fruit, you got to use a lot of it if you want it to taste like the fruit you're introducing.
But if you add it to the boil, I would assume you're not going to get a lot of fruit flavor.
You have to add a lot.
Yeah, you're going to have to add a ridiculous amount. The one thing I would say, if there's anything I would add to it, is if you're going to add fruit in the secondary or after the boil, especially if you're using fresh fruit, make sure that you use a Camden tablet, or you blanch it, or you do something. There's wild yeast all over that fruit. When I hear people saying my beer got infected, the common denominator is they added fruit to the mix. So if you're going to add fruit, get some Camden tablets at the store, or
what do the tablets do?
They kill off the wild yeast that are in the fruit.
Okay, will they stop it from fermenting again at all then?
They're basically tablet formed of sodium metabisulfate.
And it just stops the fermentation?
It on the fruits, yes. It kills off the wild yeast on the fruits.
Okay, so if you add it after it's already fermented, you don't want to ferment anyway, right? Meaning you don't want it to re-ferment?
No.
It wouldn't be a problem.
So potassium sorbate is going to kill off the wild yeast on the fruits. Sodium metabisulfate is going to kill off the wild yeast. If you add potassium sorbate, that's going to keep fermentation from renewing. So if you soak it on the fruit, you can still naturally carbonate the beer and so forth and so on as normal. You're just not introducing potentially wild yeast into your beer. I would soak them overnight before I added them to my beer the next day.
What's one or two quickly of the most common fruits that are used?
Strawberries and blueberries.
I've done pineapple in mine.
Yeah, strawberry and blueberry is probably the two most popular. And we said strawberry, blueberry, and
done apple as well.
I got to tell you, I say I don't buy many craft beers, and maybe you guys would consider not craft beer. That Rattler grapefruit stuff, I now buy all the time. It's like a 4-pack of 16 ounces. I mean, it does have some grapefruit flavor to it. But I got to tell you, on a hot summer day, that shit's delicious. I have now bought multiple packs of that, and it's not inexpensive, but but there's quite a bit of grapefruit flavor in it. So I don't know if that's part of the fermentation process, or if they're doing that in the boil. But
now, if you're buying fruits from the grocery store, from the freezer section, I would worry much less about going those routes. But anytime you're using fresh fruit, I would definitely recommend either blanching it, soaking on a Camden tablet before you introduce it, those type of things. But if you throw it in there, if you throw it in after fermentation is essentially completed, or if you didn't basically put it in your boil, be very cautious. You could be turning your beer into a sour beer.
All right. Now, Chris said he's done. Have you done fruit beers, Joey?
No,
I knew that was the answer. It just didn't seem like you were a fruit beer guy.
I like to experiment.
I am. I've had the blueberry beers and I've had all that. And I don't know. To me,
Joey's
like
watching pumpkin in mine.
It's like, well, I've put pumpkin, but pumpkin's a vegetable, right? I don't know. It's got seeds, so it makes it a fruit, right?
I'm pretty sure I don't know. It's a fruit.
I don't know.
A legume, maybe.
Like the time we did our pumpkin beers, I used canned pumpkin, and mine turned out.
If it's in a can, it's not even a fruit.
Yeah,
it don't count.
I used a whole one.
Yeah, and yours turned out way better than mine.
Just drop a pumpkin in. Can you just drop a pumpkin in?
Yep.
All right,
All right, Charlie Brown.
I've had fun. I enjoyed the beers. I'm voting for Joey's beer. HBYOB.com. Go out there. Order the recipe, get your discount using the promo code BrewCast, or walk in the store and tell him Easy Kill is your favorite, and he'll give you 10% off. Because I'd make it. And I already told you, my wife who used to not drink a lot, is now killing me in cider right now. She's an Angry Orchard addict now, so I might have to come try a cider kit one of these days. And go that route, which to me, obviously, that's different than a fruit beer. That's a totally different thing, right? Cider and fruit beer, two different things.
Yes.
That's why I don't put fruit in my beer.
Amen. I believe that. Chris, where can people get a hold of you?
You can find me on Twitter at Chris Allen FFWX.
Joey, any information, quick, where people can get a hold of you, where the store's located?
All the links are in the description. And if you want to come visit us at the store, we're right by the Dayton Mall in Ohio.
All right. And I'm Easy Kill. I'm on Twitter. I'm just Easy Kill out of Fantasy Fan. Had a good time. Like I said, we'll keep you up to date on the schedule. May be here every week, but I know for a fact every few weeks we're going to try to do a little more in-depth show to help you home brewers out. I've had fun. I appreciate you listening tonight and for having us. So you know what? Till next week or till next show, everybody say goodnight.